Hey everybody, so it is open beta day finally. I know a lot of people have been waiting for this. There's been a lot of work on the back end that we've done, but we are here and there's 4 teams that we get to play with. So once you download the installer, you just double click it. And then you'll see the prompts here. We just want to make sure that everyone understands you need to provide your own PS2 BIOS as well as your own game disk. And if you're not sure, I put the link from PCSX2net in there, which gives you some good references on how to get and do those things. So once you accept that, you say next. All right, this is going to just include typical README with all the stuff, work that we've done and everything. Say next here. And then this is going to be the default location that it's going to install this to. Now, if you're like me and you don't want to put it in the default directory here, I want to put it just on my C disk so I know I can get right to that folder. So I'm going to change that and modify it and say next. And I do want to create a shortcut for it, so we'll say I'll enable that and say next. It's just going to give you some details of what's going to happen when you install. Click install. So here I'm going to uncheck this because I don't want to launch it right now, but I'm going to say finish. It's installed, that's it. But I'm going to right click on the shortcut that was created, say open file location. All right, and then this is where I'm going to drop my BIOS, copy that in here. I'm going to copy my ISO too, which is my game disk. But just know that this will already include the ULE 438 ISO in there. We just need to add our game disk, which is what I did. The next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to launch the JSGME utility at least once so that it will update the correct file path. And in here, the only thing that's available right now is the Xbox buttons. By default, we're going to be launching this with the PlayStation 2 buttons, or PS buttons. I'm just going to create a shortcut for this, which I recommend. So we'll close that. There's a few things in the emulator here that we want to look at and set. So we'll jump into settings real quick, and we'll go to game list, and we'll click this little plus icon here to navigate to our folder where our ISOs are. And mine are all inside the install directory, so I'm going to just pick ISO, select that folder, and let it scan, yes. And you'll see, we can see that it grabbed the ULE 438 as well as the game disk ISO as well. Next, we're going to want to look at graphics, and I set this to automatic and default because everybody has different hardware, but you're going to want to set this to whatever your actual hardware is or whatever your best settings are going to be for your own performance of your hardware. So at this point, we're done. We can close, we can launch the game, and you'll be playing and everything is cool. What I'm going to do though is I'm going to show you if you want to create that 40 gig VHDD so that you can get the Chris Berman highlights. We'll take a look at that. So I'm going to go back in the settings. I'm going to go down to network and HDD. I'm going to enable hard disk drive. Right? I'm going to click browse. This is important. Some people mess this up. I'm going to select that VHDD folder that's in the directory. I'm going to say save, and then I'm going to say create image. And this is that part where we want to just grab a Snickers and kind of wait. And again, this will take more or less time depending on what you're running, right? If you're running an M2, if you're running SSD, if you're playing and doing this on an old smoke tint CRT monitor with a Pentium, you know, with an HDD, good luck. But we'll let this finish and then we'll just run through real quick and format it so it's ready to go. All right, so it's done. We'll say okay. And then we will close this. We're done there. So now what we're going to do is we're going to right click on the ULE and we're going to fast boot this. It has to be loaded in fast boot, otherwise it will do some weird crazy stuff. So once we're in here, we're going to go to file browser. We're going to go down to miscellaneous, and then we're going to go to HDD manager. And once this loads up, we're going to hit R1 on our controller, and then we're going to say format and say okay. And it's done, the disk is created, it's now formatted. We can just shut down now at this point. All right, and now we can load our game. Let's fast boot this. And we can see the textures are loading, everything's looking good. Installation of ESP HD, so okay, so it recognizes the 40 gig hard disk that we created, which is awesome, and what we want. Go into options, you're going to go to load save, you're going to load, you're going to say yes, and then use your trigger or your buttons to navigate over to the card in slot 1. And here you'll see the VIP files here. It was just one that's created for this. It's got the Falcons as the default because again we're only offering the 4 teams with textures, which is the Falcons, the Rams, Seahawks, and the Titans. And then this here is the roster file that, big credit to JSK and Cujo Matty for putting together an off-season trade roster for us to have, which is pretty cool. So you can load this. and you're good to go. You're ready to start playing. If you want to use these settings, I just included them. They're settings that I use all the time, but it's up to you. So if you go to play a quick game, right, you'll see that the only teams that have textures are going to be the ones that are included. So we'll just start up a game real quick. I'm just going to pause it here. So if you're like me and you don't really like the PlayStation buttons and you want to change it, this is where you can load the GSME, JSGME utility, and you can apply this one for the controller buttons. We'll say OK here. The one caveat, you're going to go to Settings and Graphics, the Advanced tab, uncheck and recheck load textures, and then we will have those Xbox buttons for us. So that's really everything. It's really super easy, a lot easier than the previous builds, and that's big credit and thanks to Rate Sports. He had a really cool method and utility to create an installer, which was really cool, and we're using it now, so hopefully that makes everyone's lives easier. That combined with the new emulator from the PCSX2 developers, really awesome, big home run. I think everyone's going to love it. So don't worry again if you missed the stupid closed beta for Madden, the 2K5 community, the mod team, we have you covered. Hopefully everyone has a good time, lots of fun ahead. Big credit and thanks to really everyone that's continuing to help make this project what it is. And if there's any issues you run into, please share some feedback in our Discord. We do review everything, and if there are big items that are wonky or missing, you know, we're going to take that feedback and try to make it even better for when we do get to our final release. So again, thank you everybody. Have fun, and just enjoy NFL 2K5. Take care.